that is not running your actual app end-to-end. And this is very important in mobile development, to actually verify whether what you see on a screen and what you have in code reflects reality. In short, agent device is a tool for development agents to verify their work as they're developing.
What is the loop which agent device closes? Why should people out there use agent device? If you're not using agent device, but you're describing what you want and you're fixing bugs and you're implementing features without agent device, what does agent device actually do?
So normally if you ask Claude or Codex to do stuff for you, it will create code and it will usually write unit tests to verify its own code, and it will tell you that this is fine. You will maybe run it for some code review loop and get some other agent or some sub-agent to the review of your code, but that is not running your actual app end-to-end. And this is very important in mobile development, to actually verify whether what you see on a screen and what you have in code reflects reality. So where agent device fits, it's a tool for agents to open your app on simulator, click through it, get information about accessibility, check screenshots, and sometimes when the agent is just seeing something breaks or app crashes or something, it can get logs from this device. And agent device gives this agent a unified interface to get all this information about logging, networking, CPU, memory, FPS. So they get most of the stuff they need to verify and debug their own work, and then go back to coding and then go back to verifying. And we see that this is increasing the time that agent is spending on the task, but it's also severely increasing the reliability. So you can be pretty much sure that this is actually working. And then agent can just send a pull request, and maybe another agent, like a QA agent, can see and feel this app also using the same tool. In short, agent device is a tool for development agents to verify their work as they're developing, and for QA agents so they can actually understand and run your application, build some understanding, and feed screenshots and recordings to the GitHub comment, for example.
You described a multi-agent process where you've got the engineer agent using agent device, and then you've got the QA agent, which is an extra verification process. Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about because I think people out there are wondering how do you set up these agents?
It's very simple. For development locally, you just install agent device globally as an npm package. So npm install -g agent device, and you're done. You can just ask your agent to use agent device for mobile verification, or just use agent device, right? You can install it through skill. The skill is very thin, and it will tell the agent to run the help command. It's very intuitive way for anyone actually to discover how to use a CLI. It's a command line interface, some of those tools agents just know, grep or ls or other common in Linux or macOS systems. And some new packages like agent device, they just don't know. So when agent doesn't know, or human doesn't know how to use a package, they will run help. And help will give them all the information that they need to start, and some extra commands to check whether if they're in a React Native environment, or when they need debugging, or when they need some kind of exploratory QA work. They will have different commands for this, and they can progressively explore how to use this tool effectively. So you're installing the package and tell agents to use the global package. That's it. In terms of QA, that's a different story. This is where you need to build your own QA agent usually, or maybe buy something off the shelf. You can code your agent with AA SDK, for example, from Vercel, and hook agent device as a tool call, then that will get you somewhere, right? Then you can iterate on specific workflows or capabilities or know-how about your app. That's just a tool, and I think it's worth to understand that AI agent will usually be able to accomplish all these tasks using very many different tools, or like try different things, and it will spend a lot of time, a lot of tokens, but it will probably get there. And with agent device, we're just consolidating all these tools and instructions. So agent can, hey, I just want to check the logs, so I'm gonna run one command, and it's coming to me with all the necessary information without too much bloat, because we're tool for agents first. So we optimize for token efficiency so that agents only get the information that they need at the moment, and they can request more or less and deal with that.
Are the agents running on like the CI/CD? And maybe before we go into that, maybe it's good to re-clarify that agent device is at its base a CLI tool.
Yeah.
And all it does to connect with your agents is it comes with a skill set, so a skill file which tells the agent how to use the CLI tool. So that's basically what it is. But in terms of like autonomous QA, like in this multi-agent process, what would be the process of like, so I know the first part, I set up my agent and I can build with agent device, but what's the second part of setting up this QA agent? What does that involve?
Yeah, you can do it in many ways. You can run it locally, for example, but that doesn't scale for your team, for example. And you can do it in the cloud. So in the cloud, you will need macOS and Linux VMs that have virtualization enabled. So this means they're able to open iOS simulator and Android emulator. For example, GitHub Actions have VMs like this. So you can run agent device in your GitHub Actions. This means you can run on every pull request. And you can put your ASDK agent and just tell your actions, run this agent here. It's a Node.js script, for example. And you can run as many of them as you like. You can do it on every pull request, nightly, weekly, however you like. You can connect to some remote clouds to get simulators if you don't have access to virtualization. Like there are like different products like Limrun or Revel that maybe allow you to do something like this. Yeah, and this is pretty much helpful to scale your like manual QA process, but with agents, not with humans. So it's good to have this as an extension. What's also like really cool with like remote access to simulators, the ones that you have on CI or with some external services, is if you want to run your agents in the cloud, they're usually running in like thin Linux virtual machines, VMs, right? Like in Virtual Sandbox that has to boot up quickly. Or in the cloud, right? Then those environments don't have this virtualization. They're very thin VMs, and they just don't have all this bloated tooling for running simulators and emulators. So then the agent device allows you to remotely connect to a simulator that you can host on your macOS machine, for example, or you can use some other tools, other services that provision you these simulators for you.
Essentially what you're doing is you're, maybe I don't understand this correctly, but you're saying like, test this PR, like based on the title, based on the description, based on the code changes, I want you to make the best test of this PR. What it does is the agent will then pick it up, like Claude or Codex will then pick it up via the CLI, use agent device skill to actually test it. Is that the kind of workflow we're building in Actions?
Yeah. This is what you can do more or less. I'm not really sure if you're able to run like a cloud subscription in the cloud. I recall there were some issues with that, like when running in OpenClaw, for example. Right, yeah. But if you have access to API to your AI provider, so if you have API key for OpenAI or for Anthropic or for, AI Gateway from Vercel or Cloudflare, you connect that to your AI SDK agent, right? Because ASDK is just a JavaScript library that makes it simpler to talk to some AI providers, right? And you can hook any. And your company will have like Microsoft or OpenAI or Anthropic as providers of those services. So you will likely use these to power your QA agent. So this is how you build it. Like you connect it to the AI subscription or AI API access that you already have and build your agent on that. So it's like you're building your custom agent. It's pretty cool, pretty like freeing because you can build as many agents as you like. They can be like more custom, more or less custom. You don't need to have one generic agent for everything. You can have your agent for exploratory QA. You can have another one for QA on every pull request. You can give them a lot of know-how about your application in terms of skills or system prompt, for example. Like you can give them a map of your app, like what are the screens.
I don't know if you work on like Rosinite or you've worked much on Rosinite, but I want to understand the interaction between agent device and Rosinite.
Rosinite is not the tool I'm building. It's built by Szymon Chmal, who is working in Callstack incubator in my team. Rosinite was built for humans. So it's a visual tool that will show you information about your Callstack queries or network, etc. And this is like super helpful for humans. But agents have access to this information through other means. They don't really need Rosinite. Rosinite allows you to talk to itself through Rosinite MCP or something. But this is the way I'm seeing it. It's like, retrofitted interface for agents for a tool that is built for humans.
Sure.
So I see it like if you like Rosinite, it's a great tool. Use it as a human. And if you need agentic workflows, use agent device.
Does Rosinite like plug any holes that agent device doesn't hit? Like can agent device like say the file system, the iOS file system?
Agent device specifically doesn't have like an easy way to see the file system, but if you ask your Claude code like Opus or GPT, they will figure that out pretty quickly. We can build that also into agent device if it becomes important, but usually it's not what agents need when they're developing, right? So it's a matter of what you need, what you don't need, what your agent needs when they develop, because agents have different ways of developing or getting to the same result. Yeah, I think we need to understand that there are interfaces for agents and there are interfaces for humans. They're gonna overlap a bit.
How do you think the interaction between agent and human is going to evolve?
First of all, I have no idea. My observation is that as I started to build more and more with AI agents since January this year, I'm giving away more and more coding, some of the decisions to agents. And at the same time, I'm focusing more on a higher level architecture and figuring out together with the agent, hey, what's the best architecture for this part of the code base and for that part of the code base? Hey, this works, this doesn't work. So my workflow evolved from tap, tap, tap with cursor, like auto-completing with a good tab model, into chatting with the agent and giving it like necessary tools so it can validate itself. I'm focusing on like having good AgentsMD instructions in my repositories, always having like quick feedback loop. So when I'm developing agent device, Codex, which is my primary agent, knows that it can use agent device to debug itself. But sometimes it will use raw ADB or SymCTL instructions, and this is fine. As long as they can quickly iterate, that's all I'm taking care of. And I'm focusing more on like evangelizing, getting a good understanding of what's the experience, because there's still a lot of that human feel and touch that it's not impossible for agents to get. It's like hard for me to externalize. We have all those thoughts, and sometimes it's hard to put your thought into words. Sure. Sometimes it's easier to put it into a diagram or code. I know that my work evolved into like from coding by hand to coding with tab models to coding with those agents. I think the next step would be having like swarm of agents for me, or like more agents that are running in the cloud. I'm also using that for many tasks, but I guess it will involve in that. And this is only software engineering. There's so many other industries that we have no idea how this will pan out. So I guess we need to stay open and be curious. And software development has already changed a lot in our field. So it's only gonna accelerate from that, and we'll see what does it mean to develop software in a year or two.